Hello there, people of the internet. I have heard a lot of people tell me that this right here is an inaccurate rifle. This is a Carcano, however it is you feel like pronouncing the name of this gun. But it's a 6-shot, 6.5 millimeter rifle. And anytime I make a video talking about something like this, or I put up some kind of description of ammo where I mention the 6.5 Carcano or something like that, I get a bunch of people who go into the comments and they're like, "Oh yeah, JFK disagrees with that." Yeah, we get it. And those jokes have been talked about for the past what 80 years now. Not no 60 years. Yeah, the 1960s was about 60 years ago. I can't math. But I get a bunch of people in the comments down below, and they'll tell me that this rifle is extraordinarily inaccurate, and a lot of that just has to come with, or comes from people not understanding these rifles. And if you're in the gun community, odds are you understand these rifles, and you know exactly the talking points that I'm going to bring up here because I'm preaching to the choir here. But if I have this video in my archives, then I can just send the people this link to this video talking about how these right here are not actually inaccurate rifles. So a few things that makes these rifles inaccurate, because with a combination of these things, these rifles are inaccurate, and that's why people say they're inaccurate. So first things first, 95% of your modern manufactured 6.5 Carcano ammo uses the wrong sized bullet. It uses an undersized bullet. The Carcano is a special bore diameter. It takes a 268 diameter projectile, which some companies do load, but not a lot. That 268 bore met with the very common 264 diameter undersized projectile lends itself to be very inaccurate. I have a Carcano that actually has a smaller bore on it than what you would come to normally expect with a Carcano, and I actually ran some tests with that to test my accuracy with it, and that Carcano is exceptionally accurate. You can go watch that video right now. It's like I have a really accurate Carcano or something like that on my YouTube channel. A quick search in the search bar should be able to find that for you, because I doubt that I'll remember to put a link in this video. But if you use the right size bullets for your Carcano, then you're going to get some exceptionally better groups than if you use the very common undersized bullet for the Carcano. On top of that, I'm sure somebody has already started typing about the gain twist rifling in the barrel. Thank you for reminding me. Every single Carcano video I make has somebody talking about the gain twist rifling. So this nice long Carcano, the Italians actually instituted a gain twist rifling, and the rifling started really slow at first whenever it was, you know, at the very beginning of the barrel, and it slowly sped up in terms of rounds, you know, rotations per inch. And once you get outside of the barrel, the bullet is spinning at its full speed, so it gets proper stabilization. I can't quite remember the twist rate at the start of the barrel for the Carcano. I think it is a 1 in 38 twist, and then by the time it reaches the end of the barrel, it ends up being a 1 in 8 twist to be able to stabilize the bullets that the Italians were using. So the big reason why that is important is because a lot of the carbines that were made from Carcanos, they used full-length rifles. They just cut the end off the barrel, and so as a result, you don't get a proper twist rate for your projectiles, and they don't stabilize. If you get a Carcano carbine that's like an 1891 carbine of some kind, then odds are it's not going to have that issue because it's not going to have a cut down barrel. But if you get a Carcano that's like a 91 slash something else, like a slash 24, I think that those are an example of ones. Basically a 91 slash something, that means it is an updated 1891 pattern that was probably cut down to be whatever carbine style of firearm it is that the Italians were wanting to turn it into, and those have issues with accuracy just because of that gain twist rifling. It doesn't stabilize the bullet fully. By the time the bullet leaves the barrel, it might be a 1 in 12 twist or a 1 in 14 twist or something like that. And that just lends itself again to poor accuracy. Now, this wouldn't be a Carcano accuracy video if I didn't talk about the Carcano sights. anyone in the gun community knows that the Carcano sights are a little different than what we're used to in the United States. With the Carcano rifle, you put your actual moving piece on the sight. I'm trying to explain this as simply as I can so people who don't necessarily know about firearms can understand it. There's this little moving piece right here on your rear sight, or at least there should be. You set that all the way to the front, and that right there gives you your battle zero, because what you're actually going to be using for your aim point is this little V-notch right here that's like actually fixed into the sight base. That is a 400 yard or 400 meter zero. I can't quite remember. I think it's going to be meter for the Italians. You take your front post up here at the front of the rifle, and you bury that all the way down into the very bottom of this V, and then you line your target up to be flush with the very top of the sight base right here. Like, if you are aiming down your sight, you got your front sight all the way buried into that little V-notch, and then your target is actually lined up with the, what would you call these? The sight wings back here on the rear sight. I keep almost calling it the front sight. It is the rear sight. But that target lined up with your sight base right here, that actual flat top right here on the top of the sight, that right there is typically the aiming point of the Carcano. This way you can actually see your target. These right here are notorious for hitting high, simply because in the United States that's not a sighting system that we are used to using. We're used to lining up whatever it is that we're shooting at direct with our front sight post, which is aligned with our rear sight, but that's just not how these rifles right here were designed or intended to use. These were actually intended to use at far longer distances than what most people shoot them at, so that's one of the reasons why they hit exceptionally high. So the game twist rifling, the not proper sized projectiles, and people not knowing how to line up the sights on these rifles, these are the main reasons why these rifles have a significant issue with their reputation for accuracy. On top of that, a lot of these guns are like over 100 years old at this point, or at least nearing that 100-year-old point, and they did fire corrosive ammo, and a lot of them are shot out, and it's just the name of the game whenever it comes to military surplus. You might get yourself a good one, you might get yourself one that is worn out and ready for refurbishment, counterbore, new barrel, whatever it is that you might be going after. And this right here is an example of one of those, because although it looks nice, because I did a refurbishment on it, I definitely got to oil up the wood, but the bore inside this thing is trashed, like absolute gone. Like, there's very little rifling left inside this barrel, just because whoever used this rifle before fired a bunch of corrosive ammo through it, and they did not clean it. And it probably went on like that for a long time, because God knows what this rifle has seen. So no, these rifles are not inaccurate if you know what you're doing with them, but the issue is most people don't know what they're doing with them, because they're a little non-traditional whenever it comes to firearms. So thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Hopefully you guys learned something on this particular episode. If not, I understand, because these are talking points that are absolutely echoed and regurgitated over and over and over, but I don't think I've made a video on it, so now I have. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.